Hello, welcome everybody to another episode of Blender Today Live. This time, for episode number 102, we have a mix of news, but also the program Google Summer of Code has started, and some projects got accepted, so it means that the developers can not officially start, but maybe they could. I mean, nothing's stopping them. So we know the projects. We're going to talk about it today, but to talk about it, my friend Dalai Felinto. Hello, Dalai. You were drinking. You can drink. Come on. We need you hydrated.
I know. Just I was looking to the feed that has some delay, so.
Oh yeah, the delay. It's
cut. I was cut offhand. So welcome. Thanks for having me here. Again, Pablo.
Please. How are you?
Back. I'm good. It's been a good week so far. Slowly going back to the office. So.
You are. I'm not going to the office until things are back to normal. And also, this setup is so cozy. I need to make my place nicer at the office. It's so depressing. It's pure white. Man. So, you know what's not depressing, though? It's the news that we have for today. There's a few things that were covered. Some development that happened during this week. But the big news is the Google Summer of Code. So let's go first with what's new. Remember, guys and girls, that this is live. We're streaming live from Amsterdam, and we're going to be answering questions towards the second half of the show on the link in the description or in the or here that I just pasted on the chat. So first and foremost is let's go to user interface. So
shouldn't the first and foremost be the video you released this week about the recap?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's like old news. I've been working on it all week. So but I actually released it yesterday. So if you're on Google, on Blender.today, on the community website, you might find here, multi-res all the things. Then I actually renamed it to multi-res in Blender 2.9 to be more clickbaity, because, you know, those videos get more views. But the Blender 2.90 is in alpha, by the way. It's not in A. When you read 2.90A, go to tell people like, hey, it's not A, it's alpha. A is for corrected releases, which we might fix at some point. Maybe after 3.0 is a good moment to refactor Blender's numbering for versionings. So yes, I republished this video where it's just a summary of what happened in last week's live stream. But today, which actually what I'm gonna talk about today is gonna release a video, or maybe, I mean, there's just little things. There's like 3 features added. So maybe I'm not gonna make a video, and instead I'm gonna spend the time working on the release notes, which is what I should be doing.
Are they going along well? The release notes?
They are, but I need some. I think we got the splash. I think we got a splash. So
I see it. It looks incredible.
Hey. Yes, it looks incredible. Don't say like spoiler alert. Maybe people are expecting a crappy one. So the notes are going fine, but you know, yeah, it takes a lot of. It's not only me doing it; it's also the Chris Pencil team maybe working on their images, but also like I asked Pablo to update. He already provided some very cool, interesting art, but also he's an artist, so maybe he could even make something a bit more like using his own artwork for that. But also there is like OpenBDB stuff, which maybe we can use the Walt Disney Animation Studio, the cloud dataset. But if you have as in community, if you have anything that is more interesting that you want to share, like you use Blender for, and like Blender 2.83 for, and you want to share it, please do so, because we need content, and the best thing is to use stuff from the community. So go to the wiki page where you can find the release notes. These are the big things that Blender has since last release, and we're gonna use the pictures that are here. So if you have anything, please get in touch. Go to Blender chat or leave a comment here, or share it with hashtag B3D on Twitter. I'm all day on Twitter for work. For work. All right. So the so this is 2.83, but let's go to 2.90. Let's move into 2.19 user interface. This change will change people's life so much because, behold, remember the search, the new search that is so awesome in Blender, that you can press F3 and search. It's context sensitive as well, so if you are with your mouse over the animation, the dope sheet, for example, or the timeline, you're gonna see stuff for the timeline. And wow, there are some of them that are just icons. Maybe we need to fix this. There are some of them that are just checkboxes. Nice bug to find. In the outliner also you're gonna find different things, but you know what? Please sit down for this because it's gonna change your mind. You right click, add to favorites, and shortcuts, online manual, anything. The context menu is finally available in the search. That is amazing. Is it like global for everything, or no? It's just for the search. It's amazing. This thing is gonna change everything. It's a game changer for real, because it means that you don't have to like go digging somewhere in a menu to assign a shortcut or a quick favorite to anything. You can just search for it. So it's like, okay, monkey, are you gonna have all kinds of monkey, grease pencil monkey, the other monkey, and anything. Look at the excitement in the chat. I know this has been long awaited feature, so thank you Campbell Barton for working on it. It's gonna save so much time.
I noticed, I think do you have the developers extra on?
I do.
Okay. Because I see the monkey, there's no, it doesn't show where it is in the menu, but it only shows the operator in Python.
No, it shows both, I think. Monkey, it shows the menu, and then at the bottom it shows the operator if you have the extras on, which I explained in my recap video. So that is like, sorry?
Cool. No, I shouldn't really comment because I'm not looking to a screen, I'm looking to the YouTube video, which definitely has a delay, so that won't work very well.
Don't look at the YouTube video. It's delayed for internet, for computers stuff. It's going to space like that. Like Louis C.K. It's going to space. And back.
The thing I noticed, I think was I don't know if you mentioned or saw a commit that for when developer extra is enabled, you also get to see the RNA path for the operators. But I think this is part of the context menu.
It's part of the context menu. No, but the operator no, this one, for example, mesh.primitive add, that is with the dev extras on. It shows you also that. And also because it shows operators that are not available elsewhere. For example, if you have something that is not in any menu, but your add-on has it, like your own custom add-on, I might even find some stuff from Amaranth if I look here. Like, oh, I think I have it disabled. Yeah, I disabled Amaranth for a moment because I was making screenshots for the video yesterday. But
I'm so happy with this feature. I think it's gonna
it changes everything. It changes everything. Every time there is a change in the key map, that, you know, is controversial to change things in the key map because it changes people's workflow. I was always like, we shouldn't do changes in the key map if there is not a good key map editor, or at least the option to have add things from the search. That will be like a big step. The second step, I think it would be great to have the ability to tell when there's a collision between shortcuts. You know, when you add a shortcut and it's already taken, that would be
shortcuts.
That would be great. Yes. So the last thing about this feature is that, as I mentioned, when you mouse over and press F3, the shortcut, you're gonna access only the operators that are available on that area, on that region. But if you go to edit and then search, use the menu search, you're gonna access all of them in Blender, like the whole thing. So it's different how you execute it, from the edit menu or from context. And that is pretty much it for the user interface. Moving over, Grease Pencil. For Grease Pencil, we have a great feature that the developers, only Antonio was working on it together with the art team. There's a channel in Blender chat about Grease Pencil, and Daniel Martinez Lara just mentioning like, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have, you know, since there is randomized for the radio and the strength, wouldn't it be nice to change the color? So that way you can, I don't know if he added any videos here. No, I didn't. But basically it means that you can now, while you are drawing, you can, no, with a texture, it's mainly with a texture, you can basically randomize the colors that you're painting. So randomize, and you can change the color. This is available when you are in vertex paint.
It's like one of those rainbow pencils that you can draw in other colors.
Yeah, exactly. So you can, it's super nice. You see it here, randomize. So you can randomize per hue, saturation, and value. And there is also another feature that was added together with that, is that you can randomize per the whole stroke. So before it would, like, for example, radius. If you change the radius and you make it, for example, let's make it even more intense. So I need to use my pen for this. All right. So if you use the randomize, let's make it bigger, and let's go to stroke, randomize. You see how as I paint, it changes the size.
That's pretty cool.
Which is, no, this is how it used to be.
This is the texture pressure.
This is how it used to be. Yeah, exactly. The new feature is that now you can randomize per the whole stroke, which is great because it means you can do things like this is one width, this is a different width, this is a different width. So you can, if you're painting like, I don't know, like grass, for example, you can have different types of grass in different sizes. And also for the rest of the features, it's available everywhere. So the strength, so for example, if you set it to a different stroke, each stroke is gonna have a different level of strength random. So it adds even another layer of randomness. The same for texturing, for the texture mapping, the UV, and for the hue saturation value, which I don't have enabled. And why is that? Maybe because I don't have vertex paint. Yeah, exactly. So if I change, for example, here, I have the color, and you can see I had like a rainbow because I have random on points by default. But if I do it per like here per like stroke, I can do like grass. Well, grass I mean do it a little bit too much, but if I make it even very subtle here, it should be like green, like this green that I have picked, and then I'm gonna disable this.
Cool. That's really good.
This. So it's gonna change it slightly, so you can have like for grass, for clouds, for pretty much anything. Is pretty nice. Love it. The do's, Andre is in the chat. I bet you're gonna love this feature. Go try it. It's in the latest version of Blender in the BuildBot. Fantastic. What else? Also in Grease Pencil, a feature that was actually missing is that now you can
annotation the end.
No. It's a feature that is missing. So that is a new feature, but the feature that was missing actually is the ability to copy between two objects, the Control L to link the modifiers. So this wasn't implemented for modifier Grease Pencil modifiers in the past. Now it is. So super nice. More consistency. And like you said, there is a new feature for annotations. Annotations are getting features. So it's not for the simple annotations like this, but it's the annotations that you use as a line. So annotate line, you're gonna find now here in the header that you can choose the endings or the start, the shapes that you can draw at the beginning of the start. So for example, you can start with nothing, and you can have in the end, you can have like an arrow. So that way you can point on things, you know, and if you make it red, it will look like one of those YouTube. Here, we can actually make the thumbnail for this video by having it like, what? And then looking surprised like an idiot. So they make it red, and it's like, you will not believe what happens next. They also, you also have open arrow, which is, I don't know if there is really a need for two kinds of arrows, one with the little squares and one without. But the other types like segment, that is pretty nice because you can have like an end. So you can do, you can start with, for example, with the segment and then end with an arrow, and then you have this. I'm gonna change the color back to something.
This is nice. This is nice for sketching some blueprints. Say this needs to be 10 meters instead of 8 meters.
Exactly, and because the lines you can constrain with holding control, you can constrain them like to make them straight. you can draw like paint like the distance, for example, and you do you can do like 30 centimeters or so, something like that. And the other type is a square. Yes, it's a square. So for example, when you don't, when there is not really arrows that you need, like just two connecting things, like nodes, for example, then you can use this. Super nice. Or you want to draw chains. I don't know, super nice. And you know what's nicer about this feature?
I'd still like to first to have the classic architecture one.
Which one is the classic?
45 degrees thick line.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, you should propose it, because the way the code is done is actually very easy to add new kinds of shapes. Actually, there were more shapes in the original patch, but this was reduced to have less types because there were just too many. And to start with, it's like starting with all of them. So let's add the ones that you can see there. They will be useful. Like here, Ruthwick is mentioning in CAD, for example. And you know what's better about this patch is that it was contributed by the community. So Juan Fran Mateo, congratulations on having your first patch.
It wasn't even Antonio. That's where I saw this first on Twitter. Yes.
Yes, it's contributed by someone from the community, from the Spanish community even. I've seen them chatting. If you speak Spanish, Español, and want to see all this, this discussion was actually happening on the OI channel, Blender OI, in the Blender chat, and it was super fun to see how it developed. So the mockups are by Matthias. He was contributing to have like a more simplified version of it, but having this is awesome. And now, Juanfran, you are actually part of Blender forever. Your code is part of Blender, so you're making people's life better. Super nice. I love it. I love it. Arrow to arrow. Okay, anyway. That was all for the Grace Pencil section, and I think I'm pretty much done, except this one little potpourri, which is not a potpourri, but it's like a nice thing to mention, is that we got a first official patch for VR by Ubisoft, contributed by Ubisoft, more specifically by Nicolas Fauvet, which you can tell by the Ubisoft icon there. On his profile, but you can see it's a fix to when you were disconnecting or closing a session with a VR headset Oculus, it would like freeze. Not anymore. That has been fixed. So I think this is the future of open source. You know, when you get companies that can hire people or put their developers to improve Blender in many ways, and everybody contribute to this. We had it in the past with Tangent Lab, for example, contributing patches for cycles or OpenVDB even.
Sorry, there's a traffic jam here.
There is a what?
A car just stopped in the middle of the road.
A car stopping in the middle.
And you're trying to push it. It's kind of fun to work from home for those little moments.
Well, yeah, we have bigger windows actually at the studio.
Let's see here.
Wow, interesting. Okay, anyway,
and you know, the Ubisoft is there. This fix is part of the working on the second milestone for VR. So just a small thing that was easier for them to send for a patch review.
Yeah.
But they are already working in implementing the whole I/O support inside VR for their own needs, which kind of clashes a little bit, overlaps a little bit with the Google Summer of Code.
Nice segue. Let's. Yes, it clashes a little bit because basically there will be two people working on the same thing.
Yes, and in a way we're trying to get get in touch with Ubisoft throughout the past months just to see what's in their agenda, but they cannot. I don't think they can like promise things before they're really fully committed to it. So we had to create the whole Google Summer of Code proposal, go over the students' proposals, and select the student. And it just happened that someone else was already developing this,
working on it.
Doors. But it's a good news.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Make sure the student maybe can help merging what was working, what Ubisoft started to implement. Maybe they can do
Ideally, they could join forces.
All the cars. I need to close my window.
One, it's sorry, got distracted. And it's good that maybe they can collaborate, but yeah, one is a student and the other one is like someone already with experience in it. So
yeah, but on the other hand, maybe Ubisoft code is more like a production code, something that's internal, that's not polished and intended for final consumption. And maybe the student can do a final pass on it, or the student can work on actually better support for multi-input in Blender for the overall Blender input. One of the ideas we have. So it's not necessarily the bridge between the whole technology for XR and Blender, but more generic, how do we handle a different queue for continuous events and a different queue for everything else in Blender.
Good.
But this is one of the many projects, right?
One of the many projects. Let's go through all of them. So, Blender Foundation, Blender. Blender is a free open. Okay, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but basically this is like the 15th year that we are Blender is accepted for, right? Or something like that. It's like it's been around forever.
I think the first year was 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
14? No, that's 6 years only. I think it's been like more, 15 years, I would say.
I can't find about that, so keep talking.
The first project I'm going to talk about is the one by Matt Overby, is volumetric soft body simulation with the mentor Sebastian Parburg. We had it on the show many times. So what is it about? Elastic deformation is an essential component of animation pipelines. Volumetric soft body simulation. Interesting. So it's like a new kind of solver for...
This is like real soft body solutions for cloth. What they have for cloth now is, it's not a, this whole VSB, there's a VSM, I think, volumetric. There's a whole area into the computer science. And since that so far we have been cheating our way into simulating this kind of volumes, and this is supposed to be a more new approach. This student, if I'm not mistaken, has already implemented some of those algorithms in his own solution.
Oh.
And then the challenge is to port it over to Blender.
All right. Thank you for the brief. Let's.
And it's 2005. Sorry, the first Google Summer.
2005. You see, it's been 15 years. 2014 is like yesterday.
Yeah, I had the 4 in my mind, and it's like 2004 is such a long time ago. It cannot be that, but
yeah, 5. So yeah, the next project by Ankit Mill is improving I/O performance for big files. So basically, faster loading and of blend files.
Yeah, to bring some of the formats we have in Blender, they're still implemented in Python. It's not a problem per se, but you'd like to leverage a little bit more, having some of the functionality implemented in the core components of Blender to really be able to handle. We're talking about like Ply, STL, like formats which are super common for data scanning, those mega scans and all that. So it's a
mega scans.
Really nice
but
project.
It's not for Blender blend file. The blend file.
Not for blend file, no.
Okay.
It's for importing third-party formats.
Okay. Just not to have it misleading. The next by David Falk, which is already collaborating with the Grease Pencil team for weeks already. Like they've been chatting and stuff. So now it's legal. Now it actually has and it's paid by Google. It's the ability to edit Grease Pencil strokes using curves. So basically like Bezier editing Grease Pencil. This has been a request for a while because it's very common in other softwares for 2D animation. So this is also gonna be big.
That's so nice. And I mean, the coding itself starts in June 1st. So we're officially in the community bounding period.
Bonding or bounding or?
Bonding. I don't know. Bonding.
Bonding, right? Like getting them together closely.
But then it's interesting because some of the developers you mentioned, even Ankit, I've seen him on the tracker all the time and on the chat. Can help with triaging. David Falk as well. David Falk.
David Falk, yeah.
So it's kind of nice because they're just gonna start coding from day one, even without waiting for the official.
Not at all. He already has a patch that is kind of related to it. So I mean, it's a test, but there's nothing stopping them. Himanshi Kalra will work in regression testing frameworks. So Blender already has regression tests. What is this? What's trying to tackle?
She wants to tackle. I don't remember. Need to read again. I remember, but I don't remember. Just like at the moment, like Irun's, for instance, is working a lot on making sure that testing, we can expand our test suite without being much of a hassle. Because until like last week or so, every new test might add like 1 gigabytes on the building folder of Blender, which is not convenient. Takes time to link. So we're like putting a lot of effort on refactoring this, so everyone can run tests more often. That's the whole idea of those tests. So you can check if we break something with the change you're making. And I think Kara is something that had to help on that.
Absolutely. So before continuing, just a little pause, because High Picture is asking in the chat, what is Google Summer of Code? And I completely went, like, I didn't even explain it. Sorry about that. It's my fault. But long story short, Google has this project already for 15 years or so, that every summer it will grant a grant. It will give money basically to students who want to work on open source software. So basically the open source projects can apply for the Google Summer of Code. Blender Foundation is one of them, but GIMP, Krita, all the big open source projects are part of this. And basically there is a page where there is a time frame where students can propose projects. It's like, okay, I want to work on the outliner, I want to work on the whatever area they want to work on, and Google has to accept them. It's not something that is up to the Blender Foundation, but it's more about the about Google, right? Accepting like a number of slots. In the past, we had, I don't know, even up to 14 or so projects in one Summer of Code. This year we got 10 slots, and but the best thing is that for Blender Foundation is a great help, because the students are getting paid. It's still not free though, because the Blender Foundation still has to allocate mentors, which are like the people that already know the code and already know how to move around in Blender and how the things should be done, to mentor the students, to tell them how to do things, if they're doing fine or not, or review their code. And it's not free. It's not free. That's the thing. Although
I think in the past, I think the organizations, they get some money compensation, to help with some overhead. But in the past, the mentors would get the money themselves, but then Google changes a lot recently.
Okay. So well, still it takes a little bit of time from Blender Foundation in this case, but we've seen great students in the past. We've seen Sergey came from Google Summer. He participated in Google Summer of Code. Julian Eisel also Summer of Code. Last year we had Nathan doing the outliner improvements.
We had Sebastian Vazquez, who is currently hired by the foundation, that started also in the Google Summer of Code. We had Brecht, who had also Google Summer of Code back in the days.
Yes.
We had Niels, at the time he was a PhD student, I believe, who then last year mentored Sebastian. In the last 2 years, I mentored Sebastian on the MentaFlow project. So it's not someone who worked for Blender, but something that was possible in part also because of the Google Summer of Code back in the days.
MentaFlow was part of the Google Summer of Code at the beginning. Now also like the motion tracker, the editor was part of the Summer of Code. What a Summer of Code. So, okay, with that introduction, let's move on to the next thing by Mateusz Greslinski. Info Editor improvements. Show logs and debugs in Info Editor. Add user interface features to make it comfortable to work with logs, such as filtering, searching, enable, disable on the fly, and so on and so forth.
It's exciting, but not for the end user, I suppose.
It is exciting because it means this is the info editor, in case people are not familiar with it. It's impossible. It's going to be very
convenient for add-on developers, for even Blender developers, if you can start piping more things into there.
into there. Like basically it's handy, but not so handy at the moment. You can see what the operator does, but it's a bit of a mess to read it. It doesn't have filtering, so you can like filter I don't know, errors only or info, because everything comes here. Everything is shown here. For example, the copy one selected objects, everything is here, but there's no, the interface is terrible because it was never really worked on. It's some work left done from previous Blender versions. All right, let's move into the next one. We've seen this guy's name before. Nathan has done a fantastic job last year improving the outliner with all the good stuff that we've seen, such as keyboard navigation or
navigation. That was in the syncing between viewport and the outliner.
Selection syncing, so you can click on the outliner and it will select the things here. If the outliner is awesome now, it's thanks to Nathan. So super excited about having him again working this year on outliner improvements. Selection syncing. Other improvements can be made to the outliner to increase usability. These include the changes to the context menu, a connection with the properties and editors tab, and increased control over selection and activation data types.
Which we had some of this in the past, right? Where I think you still have to some extent. You click on the data and then shows the data.
Yeah, if you click on the, like, if you select on the object, if you click on the object, it selects the object. But if you click on the data type, it will go into edit mode. But for example, if you have multiple objects, it would be nice maybe if you could just like click in, like maybe multi-select objects and then enter edit mode in all of them, or adding them to edit mode and then back, or that kind of stuff.
I also believe that some of these that is to change the property editor to be for the context we're selecting. So from the object to the data to material to.
Good point. Good point.
Which is controversial because what happens if you have multiple property editors open? So there's open for design improvement, but I think that's one of the ideas on the syncing for different editors.
Yes. So thank you, Nathan, for joining it. It's promising. And he delivered in the past, so it's also gives you a little bit of relief. Next project by Sam Kotler says production ready many light sampling. So these cycles.
And it's a continuation of a project by a different student back in 2018. Which is really interesting to pick it up, because sometimes the projects don't pan out in the strict sense that the code is not, merged back into Blender. But that doesn't mean that this project was for nothing. The student learned from the experience, the foundation itself tried this and know whether or not it succeeded, if it should be invest on this again or not. But in this case, it's interesting because it didn't work as on its own only, but also as something to be continued for someone else.
Yeah, so projects don't die. Next project by Sri Harsha Kotcharlakat. Liquid simulation display options. The goal in this project is to make the viewport as informative as possible by visualizing liquid simulation grids and providing options to visualize the velocity, vectors, and external forces. Oh, to like debug liquid simulation stuff.
Yeah, it's a Metaflow project. It's something that was in the roadmap already. So this is one of the ideas. A lot of those, not all, but it comes from the Blender Google Summer of Code ideas pool, where students can read from and then be inspired by. It's really nice. It's a project that should be very straightforward. The scope is well defined. I hope it sees. Hope it succeeds.
I hope it succeeds. Next project, Tempo. Blender proposal, customizable menus, also known as Quick Favorites Editor. Yes. And let me applause here. This is so needed. I really hope this one makes it through, because it's we need this. We need this. The science needs this.
And I think it's and again, it's another project which was in the roadmap for the UI team. And Alexia she's so capable of that. It's kind of cool because during you have to go over the proposals and the students, and everyone comes from a different place. She used to be she coded her own game engine.
Oh.
whatever language on her GitHub. It's kind of nice to see people like gathering on different areas of expertise and then concentrating on Blender. I'm super excited about this project as well, and I think it's gonna open up to more user-friendly editing of custom menus, it's intended not only for the quick favorite, but if you have a nice user-friendly menu editable interface that you can add as many user customized menus as you want.
Like pie menus, maybe like a pie menu editor kind of a thing.
Like a pie menu editor.
Oh,
like
that would be amazing. Now making a pie menu is a lot of work, so looking forward to it. Wow, excited. So thank you, Tempo. Looking forward to your codes and commits and stuff. And the last project is by Peter Klimenko, which is the one we were mentioning before, implementing OpenEXR actions for VR control, which is the kind of a similar milestone that the Ubisoft people have.
Yes, and it's cool. I think it was yesterday or the day before, we just received in the Institute a Logitech pilot edition of their new 3D input device. It's a pen you can hold in space, and it's really cool. And it's like this partnership between the industry and Blender, right? They want Blender to be able to support this kind of technology. We are not doing this to support them, but support the community, of course. And so it's a pretty good timing to have this Google Summer of Code, to have Ubisoft also interested in that.
It's awesome. Cool. So okay, right. Let's thank you for that. I think we covered all of the topics. Follow this channel for more news. I think we're gonna be covering this. Would be nice. I think at some point we're gonna start seeing some builds on graphical.org.
Yes, Lazy Dodo Ray already said he's committed to maintain Windows builds for all 10 of branches.
Ooh.
His words.
Nice. So we're gonna see those. Remember, Graphical, the community in blender.community, where you can also find the questions that we are gonna be answering today over at the Blender Today community. So let's go. Let's switch gears. Google Summer of Code Q&A thread. 13 comments. Let's go by the top one with more votes. Der Surya says, "Hello Pablo and Dalai. I'm slowly forgetting the fracture modifier. CloudSim needs some fixes, like the cloth is making an ugly shape when it collides with the collision object edges. Please report any bugs that you find. That if it doesn't, if it looks like a bug, please report it. Maybe it's not even meant to be like that. But I mean, cloth simulation I think it's tricky everywhere."
Yeah, but again, I think this is one of the topics that hopefully the Google Summer of Code is going to improve, and at least having more developers being able to maintain this kind of code.
Yeah. What about the blog post that we said we would have to write about the top 10 questions, such as the fracture modifier?
Let's do it. Do you have free time? No, I don't.
I don't have free time. I have to make the release notes because we have a new Blender in 12 days, including weekends.
And it might be postponed, the Blender.
Wow, yeah. What? Might be postponed?
Yeah, just
the release.
Just got word from our chief architect that basically the way things are going, we have still way too many open high priority bugs.
Yeah.
And we're not closing them as fast as we want if you really want to reach the May 20 deadline.
Oh my. Okay.
I'm
That's for a good reason. This is an LTS release.
It has to change for this to...
It's gonna stay good for okay. Okay, so maybe I can work on that and then I work on the release now. No. We should have the release notes before. So all right. Here, yeah, I was looking at the calendar. It's like actually 12 days. It's 13 and the 20. Oof. And I think there are holidays there's between those days at some point.
There's still one holiday?
I think so, yeah. There is some religious holiday that the Netherlands it's I don't know, we can check later. It's Ascension Day and White Sunday. So Sunday no, but I think Ascension Day is a free day.
That's 21 May 25.
Oh, that's the day after. So no, we have to reach on the 20 and take 21 off. Of course. The question, so that the answer to the fracture modifier is, yeah, it's up to the developer to keep updating it, basically. And I need to update Pop OS. No, I think I'm gonna wait. It's 2004. I think everybody's saying that the Pop OS 2004 is super stable and it's doing just fine. But I don't know. I like to wait a little bit before updating my operating system. The next question is, hi Pablo, what do you think about this user interface Boolean design? Boolean as in, oh, for the switches.
Oh.
Yeah.
I find it refreshing, but just because it's different.
Just because it's different, yeah. But I don't know. A checkbox, it uses less space, it's more readable, and it I don't know. It's basically the same concept, right? Like in web design, the checkboxes and these have two different meanings. Like, for example, when you use a checkbox, it means that you're gonna fill in the checkboxes, and you usually have like a save button that would actually trigger the save. Whereas these Boolean, these switches, are used for things that get saved at the moment that you execute it. For example, if you switch, usually, if you follow the web conventions, it means that it's gonna save the setting right away. So checkboxes in this case, since Blender uses this change, I think it's gonna like save things. It doesn't have the concept of save settings in Blender, so I think it's checkboxes are better. Next question by Green Jack: is spectral? Hey, by the way, is a spectral rendering going to be added anywhere, anywhen in the future? Spectral rendering. There is a patch.
There was a patch. That's what I'm wondering as well. And maybe if you go to the module page for cycles, you can see whether or not it's listed in the main page.
Like
but I have an impression that the developer who was contributing that kind of
dropped it.
Drop it.
No, it's not here actually. It's not even in the module page.
I remember going over that talk, the thread, and following it.
Spectral. I don't know. Actually, I haven't heard of it. But you can do the same thing that we're doing, like we are doing here, which is search for spectral in the developer.blender their website.
Such a long thread. It's like 620 comments on the dev talk thread.
Okay. Next question by GDO Crash is, hello everyone. Question: is the Blender game engine coming back anytime soon? The answer is no. A game engine right now, it's just so out of the picture, I think, because we talked about this in the past. A game engine is just not, it's not just logic with Eevee on top. A game engine is like the moment you add a game engine in Blender back the way it was before, people will be asking like, hey, where is multiplayer? Or hey, where is my export to Switch and PlayStation and web and OpenGL and open, like, all kinds of stuff. I think that is better left to other open source projects that are doing great, such as Godot, or even Armory engine, or even Unreal. So yeah. Next question by Mael Porte: Mantaflow and GPU. So some questions about the future of, will Mantaflow take advantage of GPU like EmberGen?
I don't know. Mantaflow is definitely getting a lot of attention. It's still being polished a lot. In a way, it's kind of making you can say that for the VFX team as a whole decided to prioritize polishing Mantaflow over starting this hair project. So kind of is delayed in a way, but it's good. It's for the better. But I don't know if Mantaflow itself has GPU support. So I don't even know if that's the bottleneck.
At the moment, if it's like bake time, I don't know. It's a good question to ask Sebastian. Maybe we can have him on the show again some of these weeks. Second question: it can a stack of modifiers be exported and reused to emulate a custom modifier? No. What is future of cycles? What new features are incoming and will ever be able to compete with Octane or Arnold in terms of performance? There is a actually we were just looking at it in the, if you go to developer.blender.org, on the home you're gonna find on the sidebar the render and cycles module, which is the list of things that are either features that are for now, like that are very important, or the ones that are coming: render pipeline, paper cuts, refactoring, usability, and performance. Here you can find a long list of performance threads, and you can follow the progress, how is it going. For example, like the many light sampling Google Summer of Code is here, so you can read more about it, or you can even give hearts to say that you also want it. How do developers feel about artists giving, or people giving hearts? Is it a good thing? Do you think we should?
You should encourage or not. I mean, I think it's nice to see the task, just because why not?
Getting attention.
There's a problem though, that if you go to the developer.blender.org, every time someone gives a heart, it shows up as a notification, and that's a bit annoying.
It shows in the notification. Oh yeah.
So
yeah, maybe
that's no one's fault. That's kind of,
no. It's maybe Fabricator could have an option to remove it, to not mention that, to not get notified every time you get a like. Because I guess, like, I don't know if in this case any cycles or any Eevee, and Clement probably gets like flooded within, or Pablo Navarro's list of notifications must be very confusing, because you can't really tell between a notification by a developer that it tells you, hey, here's a review, or here's a comment on the code, and what is a heart. So
yeah, I suppose you could filter that if you get these notifications in your email. But if you want to use a Fabricator web interface, then you're helpless.
Next question: what's the new modeling tools we have to expect in the next releases? New modeling tools? Not that I know. None?
No, not much. No.
What are you trying to model that is missing? Well, besides edge, slide, snapping, which is another question we get every week, by the way. Every week. So if you talk with Germano, if Mano, you're looking at this, people are dying for this feature.
It's Boolean, right? There's
Sorry?
Yeah. Now I'm looking to I'm in the modeling web page, just see what's
if there is anything related to that.
But there's definitely performance is the big thing you're gonna get in this year. So I think Canva's working on a lot. So performance for high poly meshes. So.
A suggestion: what do you think about a new series of tutorials like the one about coding, focus on good topology, to teach how to solve the main problems in box modeling? I think there's so many tutorials about that already out. If you see like Lev Alexandrov's tutorials, or CG Cookie, or
Julian Casper had a very comprehensive tutorial.
Actually, yes,
on the Blender Cloud.
On the cloud, yeah. So it's not on the part of the free content, I think. But it's on the cloud. A stylized character workflow. You have maybe we can make some of these videos free, but it's just so detailed. So modeling is something that I think we have enough tutorials about from there. Or you can get it for only $10 a month for the Blender Cloud. Download everything, keep it for yourself, and help Blender development. Hard Rooster, next question is: our team could really use an 8-bit weight painter. Let me explain. We use Unreal Engine for our game, and Unreal converts all the vertex weights to an 8-bit integer value between 0 and 255. This can cause some rounding errors, where Unreal will take the same weight and round some of them up and some of them down. All I need is a way to pretend like I'm painting in 8-bit, meaning I'll select a weight paint value between 0 and 255, and Blender will lerp this under the hood to the existing weighting code. So to clarify, it wouldn't change anything fundamentally about how Blender weights. It's just a UI update with a lerp function you could switch on and off. That sounds like an add-on. Add-on export, maybe.
And not an add-on, no, because you want to.
While painting, doing it.
Yeah, you want to wild paint. Maybe want to play back and paint.
Oh, you can get Unreal to use the same floating.
Yeah, well, I guess they don't because of performance reasons. But they could change Blender and send us a patch.
That's
Well, not like they're not. They're already contributing with the Blender, of course. They are one of their main.
But I wonder if Unreal is the only one, or maybe there are other engines that are doing the same. Doesn't sound like a hard task though, right? So for a new developer who wants to jump in?
No, maybe it's something similar to the normalize option we have, where something that may always, happens after you paint every time, you auto normalize. So it'd be like a 8-bit wise.
Yeah.
That's how to implement
normalize.
A new option like this that every time you paint. So we already have all the hooks to
as you draw it.
Allow for someone to do some processing after something is painted. Actually, it would be so hard to implement actually.
Next question, you heard it by the Felinto. Next question. So it says, I'm basically indicating the gradient background behind. This is a screenshot from Settler's walkthrough. He was using 2.83. Is gradient backgrounds in solid mode like that feature in 2.83? Or can we already set background gradient like that in solid mode? Yes, we can. It's in the user preferences under theme. You can go to preferences, themes, 3D viewport, go to the bottom where it says theme space, and then another sub panel, gradient colors, and you need to change background type from single color to vignette, and it will have a very strong vignette by default, but you can make it less, and voila. I propose to have something like this for the by default, but some people didn't agree with me.
I like it.
I think I think it's nice, and also it helps to focus more on the beginning.
But then it's again maybe it could be the default in some of the templates.
Yeah, like the sculpting one.
The workspaces, but then this setting.
Yeah. So thank you, Pablo and Dalai. You people have been working hard for Blender. Quite inspires me. That's why I watch BlenderToday. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gonna go to the bottom for the first question that was asked ever in this thread by SciVFX Silophotom. Thanks for showing my analog UX proposals in previous Q&A, the stylus UX and analog precision mode. The problem in a nutshell, all the sliders, tool manipulations behave in binary way. To click or not to click? That is the question. There are no in-between states. Our current input devices, especially tablets, offer a bit more freedom, but don't take their advantages for most of the UI UX stuff. I'm not talking about Neuralink, just it would be great to use the degree of freedom of the current hardware for a more fluent and effective interaction. The questions are, what do you think? Who would be interested to roll this forward beyond the proposal state? Could you please ask the UX team that what are their thoughts regarding my proposal, and a UI UX special would be great. Yes, actually a UI special, we were planning it with William Reinish and maybe Hans. Well, I haven't invited him, but now it is a formal invitation.
Maybe a helper or Hans or Brecht.
Yeah, no, Hans mainly. Maybe Brecht would be, yes. Ooh. Because the idea was once the new modifiers get added, that would be a good episode to celebrate. Maybe one of those Wednesday specials.
And maybe after 2.83, so Brecht has a bit more time.
Yeah, well, 2.83 is in 12 days. And I don't think I'm gonna... I even think I might stop with the Wednesday for next week, because I really need to focus on the release notes. So, yeah. Next, so that was the question. So, yes, I'm gonna leave these tabs open here, so I pass it on to the UI team, but I think some of them watch this live stream, so maybe they can also check it. Helge said, hi Pablo and Dalai, thank you so much for making these streams videos. I discovered them much too late, so I had a lot to catch up to do late actually. Couldn't I help with that? Oh, that's unfortunate. You see, that's why people have to share these videos, so please give it a like and share, because people can discover this kind of weird stuff we do for 2 years already. One question regarding the Everything Notes project. Lately, I'm creating many fantasy plants, twines, and other kinds of vegetation for 3D printing. The skin modifier has been very useful for that, especially in combination with the shrink wrap modifier. For that, it would be great if I could set the shrink wrap offset to example 1/3 of the vertices skin radius. I checked out the Blender source code and I think I found the right place for this. Now here's a question: is this something that could be done with modifier nodes? Yes and no, because you will have to expose, like the node will have to be rewritten to expose that feature, right?
Yes, it's not something that we just
it doesn't come for free. When it's like when all the modifiers are switched into modifier nodes, it doesn't come for free. Like you have to expose some of these features. So in the meantime, I would actually suggest you to look into the code and maybe try adding the features. Doesn't sound like a lot of if you already found that bit of the code that changes the radios, making that into a custom, like a property, like exposing the RNA, that's not really a lot of work, and it's actually fun.
And worst case scenario, you get your own Blender with the feature you need and use it. That's so.
Yep. So thank you for looking into it. We need more people like you, Helge. Next question, Final Flasher. Lots of love, Pablo and Dalai Combo. Stay safe. Can we add our own custom splash screen too? Or maybe a GIF or video? Okay, no GIF, no video without doing development. But you can change the splash screen if you change your templates. So wherever you save Blender, so for example, in my case, I have Blender here. There is a inside the binary file that we have where Blender is stored. You're gonna find a folder that says scripts, templates. I think. Is it in templates?
Template. I remember this being a very controversial feature.
Oh, why?
Because the splash is part of the branding. Right? So it's fine for people to change their own builds internally, but if something we are promoting as mainstream, it can get very confusing. That okay, you're using Blender, but what's the version of Blender? Why is this brand here is not the official Blender Foundation one?
Yeah, okay, then forget what I said. Now, don't forget it, because it's
there. The feature is there, but for instance, I don't think we're ever going to see custom splash screen as a build main feature of Blender. People can just build their own Blender with whatever screen splash, but as a product, it doesn't make sense to be that flexible with your mark, with your brand.
I mean, for your own stuff, you can compile Blender and change it, of course, and you can have your own Blender if you want, and that's fun to have. But yeah, if you're sharing, it's that's more problematic. Next question by Nivir Nafis. Hello, Pablo. I have a question. Why Blender takes time while rendering when I try to render any object with a transparent background? I try to find something on a transparent side, not only the object. It costs time. Hope you understand the question. Well, transparency is expensive, right? You have to calculate what is behind and still have to calculate the actual transparency of the object. So if you want to have something that is fully transparent and you are not gonna see anything through, then instead of using a transparent node, I would suggest to use a holdout. So holdout is actually gonna like chop parts of your scene off. So if you enable the transparency on your film settings, you're gonna see transparency. So when you render, you're gonna see actually the transparent background. Like for example, if I go to render, then you see it's transparent. Next, and that is cheap to render. That's why I mentioned that you should use holdouts if you want fully transparent objects that are masking out part of your scene, because that is fast to render. Next question. Okay, we have 2 more questions actually, and we are on time almost, because we 59 minutes. So Jan Kaderabek says, hi, any estimated time for the return of bake to vertex color feature, which was removed in 2.79? The request has some votes and is already more than 1 year old. Are there any plans for edit mode performance improvements or asset manager? Okay, that is like 3 questions. So the first one, the return of bake to vertex colors. Is there a...
Well, we're gonna have for 2.90 or 91, I don't know, a lot of new functionality for vertex color painting.
Yeah.
A lot of patches. We need now to figure out even how to handle all this influx of new features.
By our god and savior Pablo Navarro is working on vertex paint.
Navarro, and then the person who was usually reviewing his code might have to put his time into the LTS.
Yeah.
A lot of things like. But if things go according to the plan, they're gonna have a lot of improvements in the vertex colors in an entire new pipeline. So if you ever do it, the baking again, then it'll be on the new. I would say for the new vertex color, it will make so much sense to invest on
To do it now.
The difference is that the new one is per face, right?
Face.
Or the other way around, yeah. And the old one is per the old one you could have a different color for the vertex for each face.
Oh yeah, and then
the vertex was a part of.
Yes. So now this is corner painting basically.
Yes.
You can paint corners, and the other one you could paint faces. So yeah, so the baked to vertex color is not gonna appear at least until 2.90 or 2.91, I would say. Again, like you mentioned, LTS is gonna take time from developers. LTS is not for free, people. So if you want to help getting that and pushing that forward, remember that the Blender Development Fund is really what keeps these kind of projects alive. So people, the Blender Foundation can hire more people to take care of these things like the LTS, which is a great thing for Blender, but it's expensive because you have to take developers' time from other stuff. The other questions were like, are there any plans for edit mode performance improvements? Yes, that is one of the projects for this year, which you can find.
Already, yeah, we mentioned is the Campbell's already worked on that. There's already progress on it.
Yes, you can find it in the 2020 Blender big projects, and you can find here edit mode performance is one of the here. It's you can even find it on the developer.blender.org, and you can see the progress. And it's being worked on by Campbell. And the asset manager, again, it's that it's 291, I would say.
I won't promise numbers. It doesn't help.
It doesn't help.
But the developer, like Julian, is to work on that. He's at the moment to work on the library override, helping in the Y side of this, while Vazquez may help teaching up the back end. The end goal for the library override is to replace proxies entirely and be used in production. But I think in a month, maximum 2, maybe, I don't know. Then Julian should be fully dedicated to the asset manager.
The asset manager, yes. I really hope. The thing is, this asset manager has been is many layers. Is library overrides, is the user interface, the editor, is the linking, there are appending. So there are many levels of it, and the first milestone is like the very basic bare bones, which it's also explained in that thread and that blog post that I mentioned in code.blender.org. And the last question, hi Pablo and Dalai, the wireframe slider of overlay controls numbers of wire to display. I sent the patch, hey developer, to change the slider functions that adjust the opacity. Wow, what is that? You have,
sorry?
Like suddenly there was a massive sound.
Someone's drilling the wall here.
Drilling the wall. Nice.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's not that you can do much about it, but yeah. So developer.blender.org, it's the page where you can find this patch, D7622 by Yun Mitsutani. Made a patch to change the opacity and not the number of I think it's a different thing though. This is a change, but I don't know if that's I don't know. Is it a what would you do? Would you like to have it be transparency or the number of edges?
I don't know. The first thing I noticed that patch should explain why do you want that. So dear Yun Mitsutani.
Ah, yeah, that's a good. So this is your code review, no code but patch review. So first, explain the reasoning behind it.
Yes.
For example,
the user, for the final user, and then you can also explain in terms of development what happens. But like why? Because right now, just say that it's changing the functionality, but why do we want that? What does it give us?
What is the motivation? Was it mentioned? Is it part of like a thread somewhere that the developer mentioned that it would be nice to have? Or is it maybe a to-do on the code itself? Sometimes happens that there is in the code you're gonna find to-do something, and maybe you are tackling one of those. This is just your personal preference, or like who's really asking for this change. So basically, the proposal is a change between the opacity or the number of
yeah, kind of.
the
It's
reason
feelings about that because I kind of like the idea of the way Blender does right now, which shows a different density based on the topology.
Yeah, and
the opacity seems like something that entirely unrelated. It could be a
it's
setting,
unrelated,
but a different setting altogether, not to replace the other one.
It's a different concept. So the fact that these lines, of course, in a face looks really ugly in a face. But if you have it, for example, in this comes from a Blender 2.79 way of working, actually, and it took some time to get it properly to Bastien, not to Clément. Is that, for example, if you have it enabled, then it, well, I'm trying to use 279, I'm failing. So the function of this feature, main reason why it's there, is so you can have planar areas of your mesh not having the wireframes when you have it on. So for example, if I enable wire, I'm having a hard time here. So basically, in this case, the planar area it's doesn't have any wireframes, but the sides have. So it's super handy for this kind of workflows. In this case, if I have like an area that is more going up, then you can tell which area is going up and which area is going down. So it's a completely different feature, which I think it's not replacing the current one is not the way to go. I think it's a different feature. It's interesting to change the opacity, but it should be a different slider, a new slider.
Yeah, I agree.
I think IMO, IMHO. All right, so 106, 1 hour 6 minutes of live stream. I think we made it. We answered all of the questions that we cover so far. What about the chat? How's the chat going? How's the chat people doing? Is everything okay?
There's some off topics.
Some off topics. What are the off topics?
Do you have a girlfriend? Where's Blender Streetville? Things like that.
What?
People commenting on my neighbor who's drilling the wall.
Was drilling the wall.
That's been nice. I've been keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the girlfriend thing is like it's not really gonna change much. I think if you look at the average, the gender ratio of this live stream, I think it's like 0.01. So I don't think the number of females watching is too high. Unfortunately, we need to improve that. The Summer of Code this year actually have, out of 10 projects, there is 2 girls. So that is actually a rise in the ratio, right, from last year. Super nice. We need more. We need more girls. We need to be like 50-50 at least. That will be like a dream come true. The Blender conference is doing better actually in that regard. So regarding the numbers, every year you see more and more girl power, which is
the art field has a way more better balance.
The art field, yes.
Gender, so now, in that sense, Blender has this potential of tailoring to this very diverse audience somehow, and a lot of the developers are people who started using the software. So maybe it's a matter of time. More people using the software, broad audience, and then more people slowly converging towards Blender development, Blender
art, Blender, everything. Hey, we have one in the chat. Solveig Chavert. Hey, hello. Good to meet you. I think we are in a good moment to wrap it up. Is everything fine? People have been asking about the Blender conference like status of the if it got cancelled or not. There are no news regarding that. The government, the Dutch government, announced that at least until September 1st there will be no events for more than 100 people. So that basically doesn't include Blender conference, but we will know more before September. I hope it doesn't get cancelled. That would be such a sad year. Sadder.
I wonder if we can do it in terms of the concentration of people, but then some countries still are not allowed to fly over here.
Oh,
that'd be a burden as well.
Yeah. Otherwise, I guess only like Europe and some other. Yeah. I hope we can this is over soon, in one way or another. All right, Dalai. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. All right, Pablo.
I have to do another live stream, by the way. If you speak Espanol, Spanish, this is a little advertisement I'm doing. It's not an advertisement. It's like public service announcement that if you speak Espanol, join me in a few minutes, in less than an hour, in Blender hoy, youtube.com/Blender hoy. For the Spanish, the same thing that I just did, but in Espanol. You should do one in Portuguese. There's so many people speaking Portuguese.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Blender hoy.
Maybe quarantine is a perfect excuse for that.
You should. You should. And you only have people drilling on your back. All right. Thank you, Dalai. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Pablo. It's been such a long time. Sorry I've been kind of busy. And during the streaming days, it's so nice that Sibren had so much to offer, and as always, willing to come here. I feel like I don't want to be the one taking the spot, but I'm glad to be here. Love so much interaction with everyone. Love talking to you, and love everything Blender related.
Thank you. All right, so much love. Let's do it again. Maybe I don't know. Next week is gonna be Beacon 4, which means Blender 2.83 stops getting. What is Beacon 4 even? It's like completely feature phrase. Now it's feature phrase, but now you can still submit bug fixes. So this is the last week people can report bugs, serious bugs.
What? No, it's not. They can do it all the way to the end.
Yeah, but then no, of course the reporting of bugs doesn't stop, but the big bug fixes are gonna get through now. So what's the difference between Beacon 3 and Beacon 4 regarding of the code?
Beacon 4, we're already preparing the release. Right, it's when you're really only going to accept something that's really polished, really reviewed. It's a bit the concern I was sharing with you that we still have way too many high priority bugs.
Yeah.
But if you read official, like stable branch is frozen to prepare for the release. Only critical and carefully reviewed bug fixes allowed. So this is really supposed to be like the last opportunity to just fix something that we didn't see before.
Yeah.
But in theory, everything we know should already be out of the way.
Especially high priority ones. Okay, what are you seeing? Something weird?
People saying that they asking if I get grumpier in Git reviews. Like what? No.
You get grumpy on Git reviews?
No, never.
No.
I'm not reviewing a lot of code, so never. Never.
No, absolutely no. Thank everybody in the chat. It's been a pleasure to have you here. And yes, we need more girl coders, but artists and everything. So when you share it to everybody. Everybody's welcome here in the Blender community. It's open as it can be. Let's talk again next week. Same place, same time, for another episode of the one and only. Oops, I covered your face with Blender 279. For the one, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, gracias, obrigado, grazie mille, danke vel, danke schön. Merci. Till next week. Bye bye. Oh, bye bye.